Have you noticed small but unsettling changes in someone you deeply care about over the past months? Things that do not feel right? Yet you cannot fully explain. Many people assume that death in old age comes like a sudden storm, striking without warning. But the truth is, the body often whispers its signals long before life reaches its final chapter. These gentle warnings may appear many months, sometimes even a year in advance. Sadly, because they are so subtle, they are often overlooked until the window for preparation has quietly closed. That is why today's video is so important. We will walk through 5 significant signs that frequently show up in the year before an elderly person passes away. At first, these signals may look like nothing more than the ordinary effects of aging, but if you recognize them for what they truly mean, you can gain both emotional clarity and the practical tools needed to navigate one of life's hardest journeys. Why should this matter to you? Because by identifying these signs early, you can make choices that provide better care, strengthen the bond with your loved one, and ensure their final stage of life is filled not with fear, but with comfort, dignity, and peace. This knowledge gives you the ability to prepare rather than be caught off guard. It helps you create memories that will last while giving your loved one reassurance that they are not alone. By staying with me until the end, you will learn how to walk this path with compassion and understanding, so that every remaining moment becomes meaningful. Recognizing these signs is not about fearing the end. It is about embracing love, acceptance, and presence when they are needed most. If you are not yet subscribed, I invite you to do so now and activate the notification bell so you never miss future insights. And if this topic resonates with you, please like and share this video. Comment 1 if you value this discussion, or 0 if you would like me to improve and bring you even better content. Now, let's begin. Number 1, significant weight loss. One of the earliest and most telling warnings that a person may be nearing the last stage of life is unexpected weight loss. At first, it can appear harmless: pants that suddenly feel loose around the waist, shirts that no longer fit the same way, or a gradual loss of appetite that creeps in almost unnoticed. These subtle changes are often brushed off as a normal part of aging, something that just happens with time, but in reality, unintentional weight loss, especially when it continues despite no effort to diet or exercise, is rarely a sign to ignore. It is the body's quiet message that deeper changes are underway. As the body weakens, it may no longer absorb nutrients with the same efficiency. Muscles begin to shrink, and vital systems slowly lose their rhythm. While some degree of muscle decline naturally accompanies aging, when the process speeds up dramatically, it is often a red flag. The digestive system may be struggling, or the body may no longer process protein well enough to maintain strength. This leads to muscle wasting, a loss that not only changes physical appearance, but strikes at the very core of independence. With less muscle mass, balance becomes unsteady, movement grows more difficult, and the immune system loses its resilience, leaving the body more vulnerable to infections and disease. A shifting appetite often plays an equally important role. For many older adults, hunger signals grow faint, food no longer tastes as vibrant, and meals lose their joy. Eating becomes more of a duty than a pleasure. As portions shrink and meals are skipped, sometimes intentionally, other times without thought, the result is less fuel for the body. Energy dwindles, fatigue increases, and health declines in ways that encouragement alone cannot reverse. Behind this decline, there may also be medical conditions driving the weight loss. Serious illness like cancer, heart failure, or kidney disease often remain hidden until later stages. When weight loss becomes one of the few visible clues, mental health challenges such as depression or cognitive decline can also reduce interest in food, fueling a cycle of weakness and withdrawal. These conditions do not only sap the body, they quietly erode the mind and spirit. leaving the person more fragile in every way. Families, in their love and concern, often respond by urging their loved one to eat more, preparing favorite dishes, adding protein shakes, or encouraging larger meals. While well-intentioned, these efforts may not stop the decline. When weight loss persists despite these actions, it is important to recognize that this is not simply about diet. It is the body signaling that it is preparing for something deeper, a transition that cannot be prevented. In these moments, the focus should shift. Instead of pushing for bigger meals, offer comfort, provide easy-to-eat foods, encourage hydration, and create an environment of warmth and peace. Significant weight loss is not merely a change in appearance. It is the body's profound message. Meeting this message with empathy and compassion allows families to navigate the difficult path ahead. It is an invitation to cherish the time that remains, to be present, and to make every moment count, not from a place of fear, but from love and respect for the journey that is unfolding. Number 2, extreme fatigue and weakness. Another powerful sign that often appears in the final year of life is a deep, unshakable exhaustion. This is not the type of tiredness that disappears after a nap or a full night's rest. Instead, it is a draining, bone-deep weariness that lingers no matter how much time is spent in bed. Even the smallest daily tasks begin to feel overwhelming. Getting out of bed may feel like climbing a mountain. Walking across a living room can seem like a marathon. Simple routines, such as preparing a meal, dressing, or carrying on a short conversation, suddenly consume every ounce of energy. This level of fatigue goes far beyond normal aging. It is the body's way of conserving what little strength remains. As organ function slows, energy is rerouted to preserve the most essential systems. The heart is no longer pumping with the same power. Circulation becomes weaker, and muscles receive less oxygen than before. With each passing week, a person in decline feels more fragile, unsteady, and unable to sustain activities that once came easily. Metabolism also shifts dramatically. The body, once efficient at using energy, now begins to prioritize survival over movement. Energy that used to support walking or hobbies is redirected to keep vital organs working. This is why many elderly individuals nearing the end may sleep more than ever, falling asleep during the day, taking frequent naps, or struggling to stay awake for long stretches. The body is signaling that every remaining reserve must be protected. What makes this fatigue so heartbreaking is not only its physical toll, but also its emotional impact. Seniors who once took pride in independence may feel ashamed or frustrated when they can no longer do what once felt effortless. They may begin to withdraw, skipping social visits, staying quiet in conversations, or setting aside hobbies, not because they have lost interest, but because their bodies cannot carry the weight anymore. This withdrawal often leads to isolation, and isolation accelerates decline. Watching a loved one fade from active and lively to silent and weary can be one of the most painful experiences for family members. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons meaningful, please comment one below so I know you are here with me. Your support matters. In these moments, what your loved one needs most is not pressure to push through, but permission to rest. Honor their limits. Allow them stillness. Create an environment of peace and gentle conversation. In the end, what matters most is not what they can accomplish, but whether they feel loved, supported, and understood. When strength fades, love and care leave the deepest mark. Number 3, increased cognitive confusion or withdrawal. As life reaches its final stage, the mind often begins to change in ways that are both subtle and heartbreaking. It can feel as though the person you have known for years, the one who carried sharp wit, endless memories, and vibrant personality, slowly starts to fade away. This is not the ordinary forgetfulness of aging. like misplacing keys or forgetting a name for a moment. Instead, it is a deeper unraveling of memory and awareness that becomes harder to watch and even harder to accept. The person who once recalled every detail, every family story, and every familiar face may now struggle to recognize names, recall recent events, or follow a simple conversation. Thoughts that once flowed clearly now resemble a tangled maze. Filled with confusion and disorientation, this decline is not just cognitive, it is profoundly emotional, both for the person experiencing it and for the loved ones witnessing the transformation. To family, it can feel like a silent grief, as if they are losing pieces of someone they love day by day. This confusion can also bring with it a painful withdrawal. A once lively individual may sit quietly in a room, detached from the conversations and connections that once brought them joy. It is not because they no longer care, but because the mind is no longer able to process emotions and engagement in the same way. Familiar places that once felt safe may suddenly seem unfamiliar or even threatening. Situations that used to be comforting can now cause agitation and frustration. This is not indifference. It is the mind retreating, struggling to keep pace with the body. For families, the emotional toll of this stage is immense. Watching a loved one drift into moments of lucidity, only to slip back into confusion, can be devastating. It is as if their mind is stepping in and out of time, leaving both them and their family in a state of helplessness. The person is still physically present, yet their essence seems to slip further away. This paradox, being there and not fully there, is one of the hardest experiences for loved ones to endure. The withdrawal also extends to social life. Someone who once lit up family gatherings or laughed easily with friends may now avoid conversations altogether. They may prefer silence, gazing out of a window or sitting in thought, unable to sustain the engagement they once enjoyed. For family, it is easy to misinterpret this silence as disinterest. But in reality, it is a result of the brain's inability to process and respond, not a lack of love or care. What, then, can families do in these moments? The answer is not to force conversation or to expect responses as before. Instead, the greatest gift is presence. Approach your loved one with patience and gentleness. Sit beside them, speak softly, offer reassurance through your tone, your touch, and your presence. Even when their words fade, they can still feel the love you are giving. Silence does not mean absence. In fact, your presence speaks volumes. It is important to understand that this process is not a rejection, but the natural rhythm of the body and mind preparing for the final transition. Recognizing it early allows you to respond with compassion rather than frustration. Create an environment that feels safe and calm. Cherish the quiet moments together, even when words are few. In the end, love transcends memory. Even when clarity fades and confusion deepens, the human heart can still sense comfort, kindness, and connection. Your steady presence, your patience, and your love will be the enduring legacy they carry with them, proof that even when the mind retreats, love is what remains. Number 4, frequent infections and slow healing. As the body enters its final stage, its defenses begin to falter. Challenges that once seemed minor, like a small cut or a mild cold, can suddenly become overwhelming. Someone who rarely fell ill in earlier years may now find themselves battling constant coughs, recurring fevers, or wounds that simply refuse to heal. These are not just inconvenient problems. They are clear signals that the body is losing its ability to protect and repair itself. The immune system, once strong and responsive, no longer mounts the same defense. Infections such as pneumonia or urinary tract infections become more common, and injuries that would have healed within days may linger for weeks or longer. Circulation slows, organs weaken, And even treatments that were once effective like antibiotics may provide little relief. It can feel as though the body, once so full of vitality, has become a fragile battleground where even the smallest ailment can escalate into something serious. For families, this can be both frustrating and heartbreaking. It is natural to wonder why recovery no longer happens as quickly as before. But the answer lies in the slowing of vital systems, a reminder that the body is gradually yielding. To make matters more complex, infections in the elderly often look very different from what we expect. Instead of high fevers or chills, you may see subtler signs: sudden confusion, loss of appetite, or a lingering fatigue long after the infection should have cleared. These quiet warnings can be easy to miss until the illness has advanced. In response, loved ones often focus on cure, more medications, more treatments, hoping for a breakthrough. But sometimes the true miracle lies not in fighting, but in comforting. As the body prepares for its final transition, the goal often shifts from cure to care. Hydration, rest, and gentle attention become more important than aggressive medical intervention. This stage, though difficult to accept, offers an opportunity to show grace and compassion. The tender moments, a reassuring hand to hold, a calm voice, or the simple presence of family, become the most powerful medicine. In the end, it is not the infections or the wounds that define this journey, but the love and care that surround the person. That love, more than any treatment, is what brings peace and dignity in their final days. Number 5, major changes in breathing or circulation. As the body moves closer to life's final stage, one of the most noticeable and often distressing changes involves breathing and circulation. These shifts rarely appear suddenly. Instead, they arrive quietly, almost like whispers, before becoming more pronounced and frequent. For loved ones, it can be incredibly painful to watch. Knowing these patterns signal the natural slowing down of life, breathing may begin to look and sound different. At times, it becomes shallow or irregular, with pauses between each breath. In some moments, the rhythm is rapid and light. In others, it is slow and labored. This unpredictability leaves families with an unsettling feeling of helplessness. One of the most distinct patterns seen during this stage is known as Cheyne-Stokes respiration, where cycles of deep, quick breaths are followed by long pauses of silence. While this pattern may appear alarming, it is in fact the body's natural way of adjusting as it transitions into a different phase of existence. Over time, these cycles tend to grow longer and more frequent, making it clear that the body is gradually preparing for rest. Alongside changes in breathing, circulation also weakens. The heart is no longer pumping with its former strength, and blood is directed toward the vital organs rather than the extremities. As a result, the hands, feet, ears, and even the nose may feel noticeably cold to the touch. Skin might become pale, almost ghost-like, or develop a bluish tint around the fingers and toes. These physical changes are not signs of something that can be reversed, but rather a reflection of the body's shift toward conserving energy. Daily movements that were once effortless can now leave the person breathless. Simply sitting up, speaking a few words, or shifting position in bed may require immense effort. Tasks as ordinary as walking across the room may feel like climbing a mountain. This struggle often creates frustration for the individual and heartache for family members who long to help but find themselves powerless. In some cases, fluid begins to accumulate in the lungs, making each breath more difficult. A persistent cough, a rattling sound, or gurgling with every inhale and exhale may appear. What could be mistaken for a simple cold in a younger person is, in the elderly, a sign of weakening lung function. Lying flat may become intolerable, leading many to seek comfort by propping themselves up with pillows or resting in a recliner, something as basic as breathing, once taken for granted, becomes an exhausting challenge. If you are still here watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment below so I know you are with me. Your presence and support truly mean a lot. For loved ones, witnessing these changes brings a deep sense of helplessness. It is natural to want to encourage deeper breaths, to check on them constantly, to search for ways to make it better. But an important truth must be acknowledged. Sometimes there is no quick fix. The focus cannot be on reversing what is happening, but instead on ensuring comfort. Simple measures: keeping the room cool, using a humidifier, offering small sips of water can ease discomfort. Medications or oxygen therapy may bring some relief. But increasingly, the emphasis shifts from correction to comfort. What truly matters most during this stage is not medical intervention, but love, reassurance, and acceptance. These changes in breathing and circulation should not be viewed with fear, but with understanding. They are signals that the body is conserving energy and moving toward closure in a quiet, dignified way. This is the time to be fully present, to hold their hand, to reassure them with gentle words, and to create an environment where they feel safe, loved, and never alone. Final thoughts. As we reach the conclusion of this discussion, it is important to pause and reflect on what has been shared. Throughout this video, we have looked at 5 significant signs that may appear in the year before an elderly person's passing: profound weight loss, relentless fatigue, mental confusion and withdrawal, frequent infections, and major changes in breathing and circulation. These signs may creep in gradually, often so quietly that they are dismissed as part of aging. But over time, they become impossible to overlook. For families, recognizing these shifts is never easy. It is natural to want to push back, to encourage a loved one to eat more, to walk a little further, to hold on to routines that once came easily. The instinct to fight against decline comes from love, but reality reminds us that the body is following its own rhythm. Sometimes the most compassionate thing we can do is to honor what the body is saying, rather than resist it. Understanding these signs is not about fearing the end of life. Instead, it is about preparing mentally, emotionally, and practically. By noticing these changes early, you are given the gift of choice, the chance to make informed decisions, to provide the best possible care, and to shape your loved one's final chapter with dignity and comfort. This awareness allows us to shift the focus away from what cannot be controlled toward what can still be cherished. It is an invitation to share stories, to create gentle moments of connection, and to reassure our loved ones that their lives hold meaning and value until the very end. Even when strength fades, even when clarity slips away, love remains, and it is this love that provides peace. The journey of life is never without hardship, but it is also filled with opportunities to show compassion and grace. Accepting the natural rhythms of decline does not mean giving up. It means embracing a different way of caring, one that prioritizes presence over pressure, tenderness over treatment. As you reflect on today's discussion, consider this: which of these insights resonated most deeply with you? How might you carry these lessons into your own life, or into the way you care for others? We would love to hear your thoughts. Please share in the comments. And if you found this video meaningful, we encourage you to like, share, and subscribe so that together we can continue navigating life with wisdom, compassion, and grace.